I'm Sandra Ingerman. Welcome to the Shamans Cave.
And I'm Renee Baribeau, and we are so excited you're here today to talk about this topic of ancestors. Ooh.
Yeah, Renee and we were having a conversation after one of our shows, and also one of our lovely viewers brought in a topic of asking us how to cut cords with somebody who we need to cut cords with. And their question wasn't exactly around ancestors, but we thought that it's actually a perfect thing to talk about as we talk about carrying on ancestral patterns, because we all carry on ancestral patterns.
Absolutely. And just as we were getting ready to record this, speaking of ancestral patterns, my sister sent me a picture of my 20-some-year-old nephew who has wanted to be a fireman since his grandfather was a volunteer fireman since he was 3. And so in this particular case, having this ancestral dream kept him like moving, and his father said, you have to go to college. Once you have a degree, if you want to be a fireman, I don't care. And so, just, and it was this thread of his life that this was his ultimate dream. And so those ancestral ties can be the forerunner of something really strong and powerful in your life as well. And especially some of those ancestral things where you don't even think they were really those strong forces of good influence show up that way too. And they can go both ways, right, Sandra?
Yeah, they can definitely go both ways. And I just want to preface some of this before we jump into ancestral patterns that, in the West, because of modern psychotherapy, we're always looking at what we didn't get from our ancestors. And we're always blaming our ancestors and our family, because we went through some more than others go through an amazing amount of trauma. And so in my workshops, when I ask people to journey to look at the gifts that they're carrying on from their ancestors, it's amazing to me how many people refuse to do the journey because they were too abused by their family to be able to look at the positive of what they got. But the bottom line is that the fact that we're here, we're carrying on our ancestors' gifts, and that's just biology, or we wouldn't be here at this particular point. And one of the things that I've become aware of in the last year is that as Westerners keep flocking to shamanic cultures for healing work, one of the things that shamanic cultures is starting to do now is they're focusing on healing the ancestral connections for Westerners, because they're seeing that the broken ancestral line of how we've turned our back to our ancestors and said, no, I'm not going there, is actually causing an amazing amount of emotional and physical problems. And so in this show, we're not trying to go back into what we didn't get from our ancestors and what we have to let go of, because our ancestors gave us such amazing gifts. But we're also carrying on our ancestral lines. And so we might find that there's little things from our ancestors, personality traits, how we behave in the world, that are just conditioned responses that we got from our family growing up. Our parents got it from their parents growing up. And so this line starts to happen. And so part of our work is to look at the gifts and strengths, the beauty of our ancestral line. And the work that we're going to do today is to look at, I might be acting out in ways that actually aren't me. It's a behavior I picked up from my ancestors.
Oh, I think if anyone ran from their family as far and fast as I did, then one time along, I can't remember when, I was looking in the mirror, or those times when I was up in Maine once and I realized I was looking out of my mother's eyes. Did you ever do that? And all of a sudden it's like, no, I become, and and it was like, and it was just this moment flash where I knew I was looking from her eyes. Lately, I've been taking these very, very long walks. I don't know, for the last few months, I have been like, I'm a person who's been doing all my life. And lately it's like 5 o'clock, I'm off on like a 2.5 hour walk, almost daily. And it's been like really this awesome experience. And one of the things that I realized recently was like, what was the lineup of ancestors that needed to bring me to this place in my life where I was ready to bring back information that had been on the planet for so many thousands of years. I blamed them for long enough, but then I thought like, well, what kind of space did you have to hold in order for a child to grow up to an adult to explore the best and the worst of everything in order to heal enough to bring forward this kind of information? And that's been a real shift in perspective.
Yeah, that's a really big shift of perspective. It really is. And, both my husband and I, we're real equals, and we have this unbelievable loving relationship. And so we have to laugh all the time because we got together later in life. We got together when we were 40, and we worked on a lot of issues. And so we were positive we weren't carrying our parents into our relationship, and we were positive we weren't carrying our parents, through our lives. But it's really funny because my husband has a lot of likes and a lot of traits, positive traits of my father. And so we just laugh all the time, about that. And as we're both aging, we're looking at, and this is actually serious for me. My parents lived to the late 90s, and I watched how they aged and their attitude and their behaviors towards aging. And I have some of the positive, I inherited some of the positive of have a good attitude and always have something to look forward to. And that's really important in life. And my mother was big on dance while you can, and she was a dancer. I mean, my parents loved to dance, and so that's why she would say that. But I'm also noticing some of the places that they got into trouble as they aged. And I'm following that path. I'm following those exact behaviors. And so this is a daily conversation I'm having with my husband of, I watched where this behavior can take you to. I watched where it goes. And it's time to break it. It's time to break this line of behavior.
And I've been feeling that way too as I walk, because I've been on this mission, like that I had so much to do that it's like been a driving force that all of a sudden I thought like, what if I took a year off like this, and I mean, Sandra, because I tell you what I'm writing and what I'm working on is, I feel like I'm on vacation and I'm writing 2 more books, I guess it's all a perspective.
Right.
But, I was talking to my older sister not too long ago because she's had a stroke and she's in a rehab, and she's, facing a different part of her life, and she's facing it the same way my father faced his ending years. And I said to her not too long ago, you don't have to carry this pattern into your demise. You could shift it here. You might not shift the outcome, but you don't have to. Why are you carrying his karma? Why are you carrying this journey for him? You know, and I mean, he passed many, many years ago. You don't have to carry this burden anymore. And I left her with some food for thought. I don't know where it's going to go with it, but then I thought to myself, well, where am I carrying their same patterns too? I mean, this is a big topic. I don't know if we're starting with one of those two-parters again.
Well, no, it is a really big topic. And a lot of people ask me to speak about this because some people feel like, how can I be connected to the behaviors of my ancestors? Because I don't feel a connection with them. I feel no connection with them whatsoever. I feel more a connection with people from South America or people who are Native American or the Celtic. The Celtic people are my spiritual ancestors, or the North Shamans are my spiritual ancestors, the Siberian, you know, and the list goes on and on. You know, we feel we have our spiritual ancestors, which is a completely different topic, which we can cover at another time. And so people get confused and they say to me, I'm not connected to my ancestors, so how am I carrying on their behavior? But it's simple biology. You might have spiritual ancestors. I do. I feel connected to different spiritual traditions in a very big way. But the bottom line is I'm actually carrying the gene pool of my ancestors. And so I'm just going to give an example that's very big for me right now. I have a few nervous system issues, and so I'm really working very deeply with them. And I was raised Jewish. And what I'm learning as doing different healing methods is that in the gene pool, because of how much persecution there is, it's actually been shown that people who were born with Jewish ancestry actually carry genes of anxiety. Because we're carrying on persecution. Now, I might not be feeling emotionally connected to this ancestry. I love my family. I do tons of ancestor ceremonies, but my love has been shamanism, and I feel spiritual connections with other traditions. But it's simple biology that in the gene pool of a particular culture, there was so much anxiety about being killed and what happened in the concentration camps that it got passed down to all the next generations. And so that's just an example of how strong, whether we want to feel connected or not to the gene pool of our ancestors, there are certain personality traits we're carrying because of what our ancestors had to go through and their own survival mechanisms.
And I think it goes back further because, you know, if you go back to the Gospels at the beginning, you know, even for the Jewish tradition, it goes way back to, you know, some of the earlier roots from the Old Testament. And I know for me, you know, that I was baptized Lutheran. And I don't know where that came or if that was just the closest church. But I know that for years, I had this work ethic, like that I was like Cinderella on my hands and knees, you know, cleaning the floor, you know, with a toothbrush. And finally, one day a healer said to me, Renee, you can get up off your hands and knees and get up off the floor. You know, you don't have to, you are not how hard you work. And, you know, I still have a great work ethic, but I laugh at myself all the time when I'm down on my hands and knees, although they come up with some better cleaning products, or I've gotten older and I can't see the dirt. I'm not sure which, but it's still those things, the Swami I used to work with said that if we go in through our belly buttons and we go in through, we trace that line back, we can really go all the way back through the feminine, the womb, all the way back to like an original, like two mothers, we're like,
Right.
so we're really, really, really deeply connected to these roots as much as we like to run from them.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a very important point. Yeah, very important point. And, it's just a time, I think, for all of us to really look at what seeds got planted into us by our ancestors. For example, I had a client once who shared with me, he was a doctor, and he shared with me that his mother told him that while he was growing in the womb, she would just sit in her rocking chair with her hands on her belly, rocking back and forth and saying, "You're going to be a great doctor one day. You're going to be a great doctor one day. You're going to be a great doctor one day." And he did become a great doctor, but he said to me, "I never wanted to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor." And so it's a different aspect of what we're talking about. Renee was talking about, being connected to the original mothers and what we're carrying through our ancestral line. And another aspect of that is what actually got planted into us by our ancestors. Like Renee, you were feeling like you needed to be like Cinderella and clean and work hard, because that was a behavior that got carried on through your whole ancestry. And I can see that in mine too. We all followed a certain route as far as how hard we worked, because that's what my ancestors had to do for survival. And then there's the seeds that got planted into us by our parents or a grandparent or some authority figure that said, "This is what you should do." And it turns out you did it, but it wasn't the authentic part of your path. So there are different aspects to this. It's a whole rich topic, and I am sure that this is going to stimulate a lot of reflection for all of you.
And I don't know why the winds are like nattering in my ear here, but to explain that when I was doing the research for Winds of Spirit, and I was just randomly going from wind to wind, and if there is a random order of things, and as I was doing it, I then placed them on the map, and sure enough, this wind patterns, these wind energies, followed the path of human evolution. And I had kind of gone up there, and this was without even like forethinking that this was where I was going with it. So I think that there's the DNA, there's the energetics, and the wind patterns of what we've experienced from the beginning of the time on this planet as human beings, for how many billions of years ago, and this evolutionary hereditary as well, that we are here now, but we're still really super connected to that first Big Bang.
Right. That's a great point. I love that.
I bet you, I knew you would. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, sometimes they just like, no, don't forget us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's just so much to go with this. And I've really been enjoying lately, though, really finding what the solid of the ancestry has brought to me, because I certainly focused for 30 years on what I didn't get.
Right. Yeah. In shamanism, it's believed that our ancestors have our back, because what happens for us is we still remember the personality of our parents or the personality of our grandparents, if we're rejecting them, or even if we love them. I mean, I adored my parents. I adored my grandparents while they were alive. And and it's so important because so many people say, no, as I shared, I won't connect with my ancestors. There was just too much abuse. But what people don't understand is that, and I've talked about this on older shows, that that when people are alive, they have a certain personality because their karma was to play a role. Life is a play, and we're all playing a role. But when we die, we lose our personality, we lose our ego, we become a transcendent being, one with source, one with love, one with light. And so we're no longer a personality. And so, my God, when I used to teach death and dying workshops, and I would have people journey to a deceased ancestor, to talk about unfinished business, unfinished words that never got said, unfinished business of I was abused by you and this is how you made me feel. And to be able to talk to a deceased relative who no longer had a personality or ego and could share love and healing and get forgiveness for what happened. Imagine the sense of freedom. We're all searching for freedom. Imagine the sense of freedom when we can break that unhealthy connection. Because in shamanism, it's really believed that it's our ancestors who always have our back. They want to see us successful. They want to see us healthy. They want to see us manifest our greatest dreams. And that might not have been true while they were alive, but they no longer have they're no longer who they were. They're just beings of light that want to support you at this time.
Or not. When I went back to get in my death and dying workshop, when I went back to visit my dad, I was in Ireland, and there was this man, and I swear to God, he was the surrogate, and he was lying on the floor, and I swear to God, he was snoring. And we went to this place, and it was, I think my father was still in training school when he got out of here because of some of his less than desirable qualities. And we woke him, we disturbed him from this place where he was very hard to access. And basically the message, if I remember correctly, was something about that I needed to forgive him so I could go on. That because there was, that he had his own work to do, and he really wasn't liking being bothered by us so much. But this guy was literally, Sandra, snoring on the ground, and this voice that came through sounded like it was one of the most life-changing experiences for sure. But it was from that place that I could start that healing process to see, like, okay, my hatred or my anger is not going to affect his journey at this point. It's only affecting my journey at this point.
That's really interesting. That's such a profound perspective. In my experience in teaching people how to journey to a deceased loved one, there is a period of healing and evolution that goes on, before they become in the transcendent, where they can really be helping spirits for us. And typically what I have found is that if a deceased relative is still in that sleep training state, as you described, they won't show up because they're in another state. But what I'm hearing from you was this had to happen for your healing, to see it was about you and not about him. So that's a really profound perspective to bring in.
It was a profound moment. Just that the whole surrogate was sleeping it was like nap time or something. It was the craziest experience for sure. And what was more funny about it for me was that I had some issues around men, and my whole entire group was men. And so in the afternoon, they really held this incredible, beautiful, and if Irish men, they just held this incredible, beautiful space for me, which was kind of a little bit out of their, character in a certain way. It was a life-changing moment in my life. So we're going to offer you a life-changing moment too, where you get to cut some cords in the way that works best for you. Right, Sandra?
Yeah. So what we thought that we do is this is a journey, as we've shared on past shows. The journeys that we begin on the Shaman's Cave need to be elongated, where we just plant seeds during our work. Excuse me.
Maybe that's why I'm taking these 2.5-hour walks, so that I can, grow the seeds that we're planting on this show, because it happens for us too.
Yeah,
or at least for me, I know.
No, I'm processing everything that we share, and so this is just a beginning. And so there are going to be ways for you to reflect. And so what I would suggest, I'm just going to, once I start coughing with dust in Santa Fe, I find a cough drop helps. So
I know I usually have a stack of them right here too. Yeah, cough drop does it immediately. They're so soothing.
Yeah, we have a lot of dust here.
Should I tell a joke?
Yeah. Or maybe it's because I'm talking about ancestors. And
right. Oh yeah, look, at now you got me going too. Now I'm having sympathy coughs.
Yeah. So basically, there are many different ways that we can reflect on some of this. And so in your own time, and I know that Renee would agree with this, taking walks in nature, sitting in nature, and just having some alone time to reflect and let your soul speak to you, because this is not mind work. This is soul work, where you go in and look at how is your soul connected to a seed that got planted into you about an unhealthy behavior or a belief about yourself or a way that you're supposed to be in the world, and it doesn't really reflect what your soul wants. And so this is deep work, and nature provides such a holding space for us to be able to go so deep into our soul. But for the purposes of our journey now, which again you want to continue, as I rattle and move into drumming, you want to go within and start to allow your intuition, allow your heart, allow your soul to start to speak to you. And what is a behavior pattern that you feel something that's unhealthy? It's preventing you from feeling free. It's preventing you from feeling your own authenticity. It's stopping you from believing in yourself or being able to follow your passion, because it's almost like an ancestral connection has you anchored. It's always anchoring you back to the past. And it's time to cut the cord to this behavior, not necessarily to this ancestor. Renee might not agree with this, and I'll let her talk in case she has another opinion. For me, it's not cutting the cord necessarily with the ancestor. It's cutting the cord with the behavior, so that you're free to be you and to live your life, even though you have this connection to a whole ancestral line, and you're carrying down some of the genes and some of the behaviors and some of the physical traits and some of the emotional traits. You can still start looking at how you can cut the cords with those, and that not only heals you, but it also heals your ancestors, because it's a behavior that needed to be healed and not carried on.
Absolutely. And I've been finding that lately in my life where, through Ancestry DNA, there's been some more ancestors that I didn't know about, or some more relatives. And, in my mind, they're like, well, if a tree falls in the woods, are you still an ancestor? Are you still a relative? And I've been reconciling with that question lately, and I have more work to do with it, because there's this part like where I almost sense that ancestor, my father, who's now healed and transcended, is trying to reconcile this from an alternate place where, if possible, of bringing this to the forefront and not in the shadow anymore. And, as a bigger spiritual being than some, I don't just look at it as like, well, this is an inconvenience. I look at it as like, okay, what is the greater, bigger message here that I have to understand about his role?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important. And what I've been doing is cutting cords with the unhealthy behaviors and filling myself, and then I have room to fill myself with the gifts.
That's great.
Because all families have unhealthy behaviors. That's just how it is. It's just life. But once you can let go of some of that inside yourself, it creates room for you to fill with your own light, your own joy, your own passion of your soul, remembering your own beauty. And so it's beautiful work for us to do. And so I'm just gonna pick up my drum, and what you want to do is you want to get into a quiet space and do some breathing, because I know from working with people, I'm a psychotherapist, and Renee, you work with clients. This is a very big issue. And some of you might be feeling a little bit triggered right now. And so let's spend some time while I get my drum to do some breathing, some really deep breathing down into your belly, where you open up to the excitement of a possibility of moving into a healthier way of life. Okay. So the first step in this journey, the very first step, is we're going to reflect on something that you'd like to let go of. And if you have a helping spirit, if you've been journeying with a helping spirit, ask for help from the helping spirit. If you don't have a helping spirit that you work with, my suggestion is that you call in the Divine Mother, who the Divine Mother is. She's wonderful for helping to heal. Or ask for a helping spirit. Ask for a helping, make sure you use the word helping spirit, who can witness and assist in your work. So here we go, with eyes closed, taking a few deep breaths. Let's begin. Whether it feels true to you right now or not, it doesn't matter. Just start with entertaining the possibility that you're carrying on beauty. You're carrying on the beauty of your ancestral line. As I said those words, the birds outside my window started singing. So we're getting an omen that this is correct. So honor your ancestors first, understanding there are things that it's time to break connections with. And now imagine yourself getting up and walking through a veil. your door to your home or your apartment becomes a veil or a mist or fog that you step through that takes you into the unseen realms. And we're going to walk on a path that's going to take us down to a beach. And just follow the path. Feel the texture of the earth beneath your feet. Smell the smell of the salt air from the sea starting to greet you. The sea is one of your ancestors, because the sea, the primal sea, is billions of years old, where life was born from. So as we walk this path, we journey back to the primal sea from which we came from. And we find ourselves moving through greenery until we come to a beach where now not just the fragrance of salt air greets us, but we start to hear the beauty and the comforting sound of the ocean waves. And as we step onto the beach and we feel the sand under our feet, we smell the air, we hear the beauty of the sea holding us and supporting us, you'll notice that there's a little fire burning, a little fire pit burning just for you. It was created by the helping spirits or the Divine Mother. And come to this fire and sit. Fire is such an amazing teacher for us. And shamans have stared into the fire for tens of thousands of years to do their divination work. So as you look into the fire, notice if an image appears, or if a feeling appears, or if a telepathic message comes to you of a behavior that you're carrying on through your ancestral line that just needs to be broken now. Or maybe a belief got planted into you through your ancestral line by your parents so that you don't feel the freedom to tap into your own authentic nature. Notice what comes. There's no right or wrong. No matter how small or big this behavior or seed that you're getting is, it doesn't matter. Whatever healing work that you do today starts a ripple through the creative forces of the universe, where the healing just will continue over time. And now that the fire has helped you to identify what it's time for you to cut the cords with, notice if you have a helping spirit there with you, or call to the Divine Mother, or call to some helping being who's willing to help you right now. And this helping being starts to go into your body with its energy field or with its hands, but with love, and actually starts to unwind a cord of connection to a behavior of your ancestral line or to a belief. It's like unwinding a cord. Think of a kite string where you have to keep winding it. It's just unwinding until these strings of connection, this cord just turns into a shimmering light of silvers and golds and translucent blues and pinks. Look at what's being unwound from you by the help of a helping spirit or the Divine Mother who has the unlimited capacity to heal. Let this cord keep being unwound from you. Let go of this connection. This is a form of cord cutting. There are other ways that you can do this, and let your intuition guide you in the future. But for now, let this helping being keep unwinding this pattern out of you until you start to notice, a sense of freedom, a sense of new possibility, opportunity. You're freed of this behavior. But we don't want to leave while there's an opening in your body. We want to fill it with something of great beauty. So think about something so beautiful that your ancestors might have passed on to you. Your smile, or a talent that you have, something that you love that got stimulated by the support of your family. A word, a smell, a favorite food, or just your spiritual light. Not just, that's huge. Allow yourself to feel with beautiful textures. Fill yourself with beautiful tastes and scents. And a feeling of a gift that was actually passed on to you through your ancestral line. For now that you've cut a behavior that no longer serves you, now that it's been unwound out of you, you're now free to embrace an incredible gift from your ancestors. Your helping spirit or the Divine Mother is holding space for you as you fill with the power of this gift, as you fill with the power of your own spiritual light. And reach your arms up to the sky and feel your feet into the sand. Smell the fire burning, hear the crackling of the fire. Smell the salt in the air, listen to the ocean waves. Feel your connection to yourself and nature. Feel more of a sense of freedom. I know there's more work to be done, but this was beautiful for now. So thank the primal sea, the Divine Mother, your helping spirit, the fire, the earth you're standing on, the wind, the sun that's supporting you and filling you with light. Absorb that light and say thank you to all the beings who supported you. Say thank you to your ancestors. Thank them for the gifts. And if you can take the high road, thank them for the hard lessons that helped to shape you into the being that you are now. with your strength and beauty. And turn around and start to leave this place of nature. And find yourself walking back on the path through the greenery, feeling the soft earth beneath your feet, opening up your senses, smelling, tasting, feeling the beauty of nature, the beauty of your own nature, as step by step you come back to the veil and step through back into the ordinary world of your home. Your home is you, but come back into the home, the room that you're journeying in. Give thanks to yourself for being willing to have the courage, to even being willing to reflect on this deep and powerful healing that needed to be done. Put your hands on your heart. Take a few deep breaths. Connect your feet to the land where you live, to the heartbeat of the land where you live. And embrace the possibility that your ancestors have your back and love you.
Wow, that turned into be some journey, huh?
Yeah, I love doing journeys where I let the spirits just unwind out of me. I think maybe because I spin on a spinning wheel, and there's something about spinning yarn. And so when I do my ceremonial work, whether spinning a blessing or trying to heal an old pattern, I imagine yarn just being spun out of me that embraces the power of what needs to be healed or what needs to be created. So it's a metaphor that I work with in my own ceremonial work, and I hope it helped you in some way, and I hope that you'll continue it.
Wow, that was an awesome journey. A lot of times I'll sit here and I'll just hold space, but today I went on the journey, and it was a really powerful. I had this really little fire on the beach, but what happened after that was quite intense. And one of the things that I always suggest to people is that when you have an intense experience like that, hold it sacred, go in with it. You know, we always want to, blurt it out, but my thing right now is sharing it in, sharing it in, and really taking the experience as far as you can within yourself before you run off to tell somebody else about the awesome journey you just took. And I probably, you understand that.
Yeah, we can actually break the power of healing work by talking about it too much. Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about it anymore, but we're going to tell you to come over to the Shamans Cave in the group, and in a few days or in a week when you feel like sharing about this. And some people actually share it in drawings, which we love too, and pictures and videos and music. All of those are great ways to share. And then also, if you want to get this in your inbox, go over to shamanstv.com, and there's a sign up box, and you'll get a weekly show in your inbox without having to look for it or do anything else. And that's the only thing that we use that particular email for.
Yes, the Shamans Cave and the Shamans TV, shamanstv.com is a place to also go back and look at our old shows. We're really moving along with our shows, and every show is so filled with so many different aspects that you can work with. So we hope that you'll also review old shows by going back to shamanstv.com.
Oh, thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful journey and for sitting here with me every week. I have so much fun with you.
Yeah, me too, Renee. Thank you. And blessings, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day.